Mew is the original mythical Pokémon, and according to his lore, he has the DNA of every Pokémon inside of him. But could he beat every single Pokémon in Fire Red if they had their best competitive moveset? Let's find out. To start off, this is the Mew I'll be using. He currently only knows Psychic, Ancient Power, Mega Punch, and Transform. I know it's a pretty weird moveset, but I wanted to start with him only using level up moves and see how far he could get, with Transform being there only for emergencies. Also, yes, Mew is a level 100, but don't worry, every opponent is also going to be at that level. Now, as for how I'm going to be facing off against each Pokémon, I modified Pokémon Fire Red to turn it into some sort of gauntlet, where each room I go into represents a tier of competitive battling, going from the strongest universe, where there's both Mewtwo and Mew, all the way to the lowest tiers that exist right now, which is SU or Sub-Zero used, with Pokémon like Farfetch, Onix, and Parasect. I also added some lower tiers that I personally made to differentiate Pokémon that are even weaker. And what better way to represent that than the first room, which is composed of the weakest of the weakest: Caterpie, Metapod, Weedle, Kakuna, Magikarp, and Ditto. Mew obviously had no problem against them, with the only one that could have been a problem being Ditto. But while he did survive an attack and managed to transform, the only thing he did after that was land a weak Mega Punch, followed by being KO'd by a second Psychic. With Mew's legendary stats and strong psychics coming from his base 100 special attack, he had almost no trouble making it all the way to the poorly used room, which is the 6th one out of 12, and defeating a total of 66 Pokémon on the way, obliterating all of the rooms before that. The only things that happened in between that are worth mentioning were a choice banded Eevee that used Double Edge to almost bring me to half, a Frustration Quick Attack Farfetch that did a lot of damage to Mew, a T-Wave Seismic Touch Clefairy that has Soft Boil and a Leftovers for recovery that could have easily defeated me if I had gotten fully paralyzed more times, and both a Rhyhorn and a Seeking with Mega Horn, with the Seeking only losing because I got a crit against him. Going into the 6th room is when things started getting a bit more serious, as Mew started facing off against a lot more Pokémon that could easily take 1, maybe even 2 Psychics from him, with the most notable opponents on that room being a Restock Lickitung with Curse and Body Slam, alongside being equipped with the Leftovers that could have easily gotten out of hand if he hadn't reduced his speed below that of my paralyzed Mew, a Sleep Powder Tangela that had Giga Drain, Morning Sun, and the Leftovers for recovery, and a Shadow Ball Wigglytuff that almost won because of a crit against me. Mew didn't lose a single one of those fights, but things are getting more and more difficult for him. Speaking of, in the never used room, which is the 7th one, is when Mew faced his first defeats. The first one was against Flareon, whose Fire Blast got a crit that brought Mew to the red, followed by a quick attack to defeat him. I was worried that this fight would be impossible, since it looked like he could take 2 Psychics just fine, which meant that he didn't really need a crit. But on the next attempt, he apparently forgot that he had Fire Blast, as he went for Double Edge instead and brought himself in range of being defeated by my attacks. There were a couple of other troublesome Pokémon in the room, like a Restock Dewgong that was incredibly bulky, or a Choice Band Double Edge Raticate that also outsped, but none of them got a win against Mew. And then there was Pidgeot. He outsped and hit with super powerful double edges that were boosted by a Choice Band. That attack brought Mew to half HP, but unfortunately, his Psychics weren't enough to knock Pidgeot out from that range, so he could simply attack again to defeat me. I tried a couple more times hoping for a crit or an Ancient Power Omni Boost, but the result was always the same. The solution I thought of was equip a Citrus Berry, which would heal Mew and get him out of KO range. It's the best thing that I can think of that doesn't involve getting lucky or using ATM, but turns out that wasn't necessary, as literally the same attempt I equipped it to Mew, Pidgeot's attack brought him just outside of the range of triggering the berry, followed by a Double Edge that got him to a sliver of HP. Turns out it was a range to defeat me. Because of that, I was able to win. Next was the 8th room that represented the rarely used tier, and if Mew was struggling in the previous room, then this one was truly testing him, as he lost even more times and to even more Pokémon. Right at the beginning, he was already having trouble against the second Pokémon he faced, which was Clefable. He had an evil set of Toxic, Soft Boil, and Seismic Toss, which was made even more annoying by his Leftovers. Mew has the ability Synchronize, which made it so that if he got afflicted by a status condition like paralysis, poison, or burn, he would give it to the opponent. That ability helped during the fight, as the poison did more damage than what the leftovers healed. But when you take into account the soft boil and the high defenses of Clefable, Mew was simply unable to win. I kept trying, hoping to get a crit or a special defense drop, but on one attempt, Clefable simply didn't use soft boiled, instead going for Seismic Toss. Because of that, Mew won by the skin of his teeth. Clefable wasn't the only Pokemon that defeated Mew in that room though, as there were 3 other Pokemon that gave Mew a tough time. The first one of them was Raichu, who was in a speed tie with Mew and liked to go for either Thunder Wave or Thunderbolt, with the last move doing decent damage and having a high chance of being a 3-hit KO. It took a few restarts, but on one attempt, Mew didn't get fully paralyzed that many times while also being left with only 3 HP from Raichu's attacks, giving him the chance to finish him off. The second one was Rapidash, and he was an issue because he outsped, his Fire Blasts were really strong, and took Mew's attacks better than he should have. There were a few losses because of burns and crits, but I knew that Rapidash didn't need those to defeat Mew. What ended up giving Mew the victory was a miss from one of his attacks. He still got really close to defeating Mew, even with the miss, so it's not like it was a one-sided beatdown if he missed once. Lastly, the one that was the most annoying out of everyone was Hypno. He used Thunder Wave, healed with Wish every time he had a chance, and had Counter to prevent me from using my physical attacks, which were the only way of dealing decent damage against him, as he took almost no damage from Psychic unless I got like 2 special defense drops. Oh, and did I mention that he was also equipped with the leftovers? I only tried the fight twice, with each attempt lasting over 5 minutes. But each time he kept spamming Wish while I was being slowed down by missing turns due to paralysis. I don't think I saw a single time red on his HP bar. I ended up fainting on both attempts because of Counter, and maybe I could win if I kept trying, but with each fight lasting so long and being incredibly frustrating, I decided to just stop trying without an equipped item and just give Mew a Lumberry to heal the paralysis. That ended up working great, as thanks to Synchronize, Hypno got paralyzed while Mew was still healthy. The fight was still close thanks to Counter, but with Hypno getting fully paralyzed multiple times, Mew was finally able to win this fight. I am really not looking forward to the next fights. Only 48 left to go. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe, as I'm going to be doing this for a lot more Pokemon and that really helps me grow. Okay, so things are getting extremely difficult for Mew, and the underused room was no exception. There were a lot of Pokemon that won against Mew, so I'll quickly go over them. Also, yes, I know I could have a much easier time getting past all these Pokemon if I just taught Mew a move like Shadow Ball or Thunderbolt. But 1. I want to test the limits of Mew with just his level up movesets, seeing how many Pokemon he can defeat without limitation. And 2. I'm really stubborn. The first one was Arcanine. He outsped and hit with strong Fire Blast while not taking that much damage from my attacks, winning in the end thanks to a special defense drop. Surprisingly, the next one was Golem. I thought he was going to be an easy 2-shot, but turns out he was arranged with Psychic to defeat. Meanwhile, his choice-banded Earthquakes easily got a 2-hit KO on Mew. I kept trying, hoping for a special defense drop or a crit, but in the end, I hit the range necessary to defeat him. Kangaskhan was after, and she was similar to Golem, but instead of using Earthquake, she used a choice-banded Shadow Ball, doing massive damage to Mew. She was also a 3-shot with Psychic, so I thought I finally hit a Pokemon that Mew wouldn't be able to win against. That is, until the next attempt, instead of going for the super effective move, she went for Frustration, which works like a max power return for the opponents. The move did less damage than Shadow Ball, being a 3-hit KO instead of 2, so that gave me the chance to defeat her. Lapras was just really bulky and hit with strong Hydro Pumps. I knew the move could miss, so I knew it was a matter of time before that happened. However, even with the miss, Mew was unable to do enough damage to defeat her. In the end, what got me the win was a combination of a missed Hydro Pump and a crit Psychic. I probably shouldn't have won that fight and just moved on, but on a previous attempt I got a pretty late special defense drop, which made me realize that the fight could be possible if that happened. So I continued trying, eventually getting the victory. Against Omastar, I only lost because I forgot to heal before the fight. There's nothing more to it, like, I did the fight at full HP and won without problems. Lastly, there was Scyther, and this one... Jesus Christ. He outsped and hit incredibly hard with Silver Wing, all of that while managing to survive an Ancient Power, meaning that, under normal circumstances, Mew would have absolutely no way of winning. The only chance I had at defeating Scyther was to either get a crit or an Omnibus from Ancient Power. It took more restarts than what I would have liked, with some attempts ending with Scyther getting the Omnibus from his Silver Wing or a crit instead, but eventually, Mew's Ancient Power gave him the boost to defeat Scyther the next turn. Only 30 more fights. One quick note, some Pokemon in this challenge use moves that look slightly off from their competitive sets. That's because I can't really modify every IV on the trainers, so Hidden Power isn't replicable except Hidden Power Dark, which no one uses. I ended up coming up with a solution of replacing those moves with something close in base power, like Water Pulse instead of Hidden Power Water, or Shadow Punch instead of Hidden Power Ghost. If a moveset looks a bit different, that's why. In the penultimate room before going up against the Uber Pokemon, things started pretty good, defeating a bunch of Pokemon, with some of them thanks to a crit or a special defense drop. Things took a turn when I faced off against Executor though. He had a moveset of Sunny Day, Solar Beam, Sleep Powder, and Flame Wheel in place of Hidden Power Fire. If that was all there was, it would be difficult but manageable. The real problem was Chlorophyll, because if Executor got a Sunny Day up, not only do his moves get the boost, but his speed also gets doubled. Because of that, Mew had no chance against him, even if I took into consideration a crit or a special defense drop. But what if I didn't use Mew? See, a move that I haven't been using up until now is Transform. I had it as an emergency button, and I think now it's time to use it. That makes Mew get the same ability as him, while also getting the same moves he uses. If I use the move while he either goes for a Sunny Day or a Sleep Powder, as long as I manage to land one of my own Sleep Powders, I can use Flame Wheel to get a 2-shot against him. It took a couple of tries, but eventually, the plan worked. There were other Pokemon that defeated me, which were Rhydon with a Choice Band Mega Horn to get a 1-shot, but turned out to be a range, so I easily defeated me after restarting once, and Vaporeon who was super bulky while having access to a healing move in Wish. It didn't take that many attempts because of getting 2 special defense drops from Psychic, but that one could have easily been the first fight that Mew couldn't have beaten, since thanks to his ability Water Absorb and his leftovers, using Transform would have resulted in both of us staring into each other until one of us started using Struggle. However, the one that really tested Mew and the move Transform was Slowbro. He was insanely tanky while also dealing decent damage with Surf, something that got made even worse if he decided to go for a Coal Mine. I used Transform to copy his stats and moveset, but the problem was that because he had the leftovers, he eventually forced me to use Rest to heal, and since we both went for so many Coal Mines, he would eventually get a crit to defeat me. I knew I had to use the same strategy if I wanted to win, so I kept trying until eventually I got the crit to defeat him. 14 Pokemon left. Last of the rooms before going into the broken legendaries is the overused room, and if I'm honest, it was easier than the few rooms that came before. Not because the Pokemon were weaker, far from it, but because they were stronger. That might sound weird to say, but what that actually means is that using Transform against them becomes an actually viable strategy. Some of the Pokemon in the room still took a couple of restarts, but with Transform, they were relatively easy to defeat. Aerodactyl sometimes locked itself into using Choice Band Double Edge and then getting defeated by Rock Slide. Magneton used Toxic and had Flame Charge, easily being defeated by the move, and Starmie had Thunderbolt, also being easily defeated, as long as it didn't take too much damage from Hydro Pump before transforming. I might have lost some of those battles since they got a free turn when I used Transform, but thankfully, one of the things that the move doesn't copy is the HP of the opponent, and with Mew's 100 base HP, it made him bulkier than most of the Transform targets. One opponent that didn't work that well though was Snorlax. He was an insanely defensive Pokemon. I'm running out of synonyms for bulky, so I had no choice but to go for Transform against him. However, not only did he like to go for Curse to increase his attack and defense, and not only did he have a leftovers for passive recovery, but his body slams did massive damage, even when I was transformed into him. That also meant that my attacks had the potential of doing a lot of damage, but with the free turn he got from using transform and the chance of paralysis from body slam, I ended up losing a bunch of times against him. In the end, the strategy that I came up with was to use Psychic twice against him and then go for Transform, since he likes to set up 2 curses before attacking with Shadow Ball. That meant that we were on an even playing field as I turned into him, so I could go for 1 or 2 curses and then start attacking with Body Slam. It took it in a crit from Psychic, a full paralysis from Body Slam, and Snorlax to not go for too many curses, but eventually I won, meaning that all that's left is the Uber Pokemon. To end the run, it's the final 2 Pokemon, Mewtwo and Mew. I challenged Mew first since I wanted to see how I did in the mirror match, and to start, he won the speed tie, setting up a Swords Dance. That worked in my favor though, as I went for Transform to copy his stat boost and moveset. Thanks to that, I could go for a +2 Shadow Ball against him, which actually OHKO'd him. It did get a crit, but I don't think it was necessary. Last Pokemon of the challenge was Mewtwo, and as he went for a Calm Mind, I went for the usual Transform. I went for the +2 with Calm Mind as he hid behind a Substitute, which he used to also get to +2 with his own Calm Mind. I didn't care though, as I went for another boost followed by an Ice Beam that destroyed the Substitute. He hit with Thunder though, and it did like a third of Mew's HP. I wanted to hit him back with Thunder as well, but he used Substitute once more, getting that one destroyed as well. I managed to land the second one, and it brought Mewtwo to the red, while he also had the same thought and landed his own Thunder to bring Mew to a third of HP. Everything was going to be decided by who won the speed tie, and Mew managed to win it, landing an Ice Beam to finally defeat Mewtwo. So, can Mew beat all 151 Pokemon in Fire Red with their competitive moveset? Yeah, for sure, no questions asked. Turns out, when you have the DNA of every single Pokemon inside of you, you don't need their moves. You just need to know when to become them. The only reason it took so many restarts was because I really wanted to just use level up moves, which, while it did make me lose over 50 times, it did prove that Mew didn't need to use TNs, HMs, or move tutors to beat every Pokemon in the Kanto Pokédex. Just Psychic, Ancient Power, Transform, and quite a bit of luck, alongside a bunch of stubbornness. Like, a lot. But anyways, did I miss anything on the video? If you think so, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.